Of a recession is 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP growth. You can actually see here, take a look here, that Nigeria's GDP actually started having negative growth at the beginning of 2016, largely because of, we've talked about this a lot, largely because of falling oil prices. But in the second quarter of 2017, there was finally a glimmer of hope. Finally, some positive growth, thus ending the recession. The growth, though, wasn't that much. It was relatively small amount of growth. So the country could easily, technically, fall back into recession at any time. Now, I spoke to some key members of government to hear what is being done to prevent that and to find out if any lessons were learned. After having its first quarter of positive growth in more than a year, Africa's largest economy may be making a comeback.
Oh, there's a great sense of optimism. You can see capital inflow has increased about 92% between the first quarter and the second quarter. The currency has stabilized. So really, there's a lot of things going for the country.
While the growth is slow, many Nigerians hope this will mark the start of an economic upturn.
Now, it's not overnight that they will start feeling the effect of Ghana's recession, but gradually, as the multiplier effect of those sectors of economy, like the creative industry, manufacturing, and construction, which are clearly out of recession now.
Nigeria slipped into recession in 2016 after its vital oil sector dropped in both price and production. Crude oil prices fell from $115 in 2014 to about $50 today.
As much as Nigeria is perceived as an oil economy, it's only 15% of GDP. Now it represents 90% of government revenue. So there must be a linkage between the economy and government revenue in terms of diversifying government revenue beyond oil.
As the head of an organization tasked to promote Nigeria's economic development, Uche Orji sees other opportunities the country can turn to.
The reality is that we've all come to the acceptance that somewhere between 2035 and 2040 is when you might start to see the major element of oil demand start to fade. We're focused now on tapping resources that have not been looked at properly, like solid minerals, everything from gold, lead, zinc, coal, all industrial metals that Nigeria has in abundance that have not really been developed.
But the Minister of Trade says the oil industry will still play a crucial role.
It has been said that we need oil to get out of oil, which is why it's important for us, to engage both the host communities, the oil companies, all the stakeholders. And I think our views are like, you need to rebuild the infrastructure. It's a no-brainer. Not no-brainer in terms of implementation, but in terms of the solution.
I interviewed Vice President Yemi Osinbajo in August during a forum in Nigeria. This was before the official end of recession, but even then, the VP saw potential for a rebound.
There are more opportunities for local production, more opportunities in agriculture, more opportunities in agro-processing, more opportunities even in technology.
With its population growing faster than its economy, there's also a focus on the younger generation to play a role in the country's recovery.
I've been told things like 50% of our population is under the age of 20. That's 70 million to 80 million young people, which I think can be turned into a big opportunity for growth. So big economies with a lot of people in themselves can, with the right investments, create enough opportunities internally to continue to thrive.
Nigeria's creative youth is already having an impact in some areas.
The creative industry grew by 11.67%, in the second quarter of the year. Nigeria has competitive advantage in certain areas of the creative industry, especially the film industry, the music industry, fashion, and the theater arts.
And while the government works to further advance these industries and the economy, Nigerians are certain they're on the road to a prosperous future and positive growth. All right, time for a quick break here on Marketplace Africa. This profit point is about a man who made a risky bet on himself. Bunmi Akinyemuju has done computer programming since he was 14 years old. He started 3 successful startup companies while he attended Michigan State University in the United States. And he was actually on track to build a tech empire in the States, but he saw more promise in building it in the country he was raised in, Nigeria.
Ronnie Akinyemiju, the CEO of Venture Garden Group. Venture Garden Group is a company that's using payments and data to build efficiencies in different sectors on the African continent, like aviation, power, education, and by doing it, we help them in converting cash into digital forms of payments, and we then collect a transactional fees for every payment that we process. Born in East Lansing, and of course, naturally, I went back to Michigan State University for my education, computer science, computer engineering. And while going to school, I also joined a startup called Artemis Solutions Group. And Artemis Solutions was into providing software technologies for biotech, DNA analysis, and then we got into B2B payments as well. I then decided to take those capabilities along with my partners to move back to Africa to help in the transformation of the continent. Running a business in Africa is like a roller coaster. You know, the uncertainties that, you know, how is this going to work? Especially I was living, you know, a comfortable life in Michigan. So going back to Africa to start over again, you know, you kind of get that feeling. But we decided in January 2011 to do a bit of a road show, see if we can get some customers interested in what we're doing. And I remember very clearly meeting with the Vice Chancellor, the President of Obafemi Awolowo University, which is one of the top, you know, ranked universities in Nigeria, telling them that, hey, you know, we can help eliminate cash from how students pay their school fees. And we said, okay, how about this? How about we not only give you, you know, payments processing and data analytics, but we can also actually digitize the whole university to create a digital university the way it's been done in Michigan and other states that we've been a part of in the US. And he said, all right, let's do it. So the next question became, okay, how do you fund a project like this? My brother-in-law worked at ExxonMobil, so went to visit him. He introduced me to the CFO at the time of ExxonMobil. And when we described what we were trying to do, we said, I like what you guys are doing. Here's $100,000 check to get you started. And so we were so lucky, not just because he believed in us and supported us and validated our idea and backed it up with cash, but because employees of ExxonMobil said, hey, if our CFO is investing in this little startup, we are also in. So that was how we raised our first, you know, $500,000. In 2015, at this point, we had now launched our education business, that's EduTech. We had launched AVTech, and we had launched PowerTech. And at this point, it was all about how do we scale. So we figured that we really needed to raise some capital to scale this up. And luckily, we ran into Convergence Partners out of South Africa. And as soon as we met them, we connected. It took us probably about 12 to 18 months to close the deal, but eventually they decided to make the investment, almost $20 million. On the basis of the investment, the company will be worth almost $60 million. And for us, that was exciting that we could essentially, from nothing, build almost $60 million valued company at that time. From the time of the investment, which was towards the end of 2015, and now, essentially, we've been able to grow to about 250 employees. Our clients across the three sectors have grown to about 25.
The ExxonMobil executive that Akinyemiju mentioned is Cyril Odu. He's the former CFO of ExxonMobil's upstream companies in Nigeria and currently the chairman of Venture Garden Group. All right, everyone, that does it for us here.